Russia has accused Ukraine of carrying out a drone attack on its capital, Moscow, in which several buildings were damaged. Russia's defense ministry said it shot down 5 unmanned aerial vehicles and diverted 3 others electronically. Videos posted on the Russian Telegram channel MASH appear to show explosions in the sky. Moscow's mayor says drones caused minor damage to several buildings and 2 people sought medical assistance after the strike. Kyiv has not responded to Moscow's accusations. It has previously denied involvement in drone attacks on Moscow. Let's get more on the story from our correspondent Jennifer Parker in Riga, where DW has reported from since we were banned from Russia. Jennifer, what more can you tell us about these reported attacks?
Well, Russian media reports that drones hit at least 3 residential buildings in Moscow. And according to Moscow Department of Transport, the traffic in the area was blocked and the GPS signals were jammed after the alleged drone attacks. Drones were also allegedly shot down in Moscow suburbs. And videos of this, especially smoke in the sky, are now being circulated on social media. Well, Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin actually said not to spread or implored not to spread unverified information, but rely on official sources. He also stated that no one was seriously hurt. And according to Russian media, about 25 drones were involved in the attacks, and most of them were actually shot down or allegedly shot down in the Moscow suburbs. But Russian authorities did not specify the concrete number of drones involved.
Just for some background for our viewers, this isn't the first time a drone has exploded over Russian territory, is it?
No, that's definitely not the first time it happened. It happened more and more over the last couple of weeks and months, Ben. On March 4th, for example, a drone carrying an improvised explosive device attacked a substitution of the Transneft Druzhba oil pipeline in the Belgorod region. No injuries were reported. And of course, we should not forget about the alleged drone attack on the Kremlin on May 3rd. All in all, since the beginning of 2023, there were more than 30 suspected drone attacks reported on in Russian media.
DW correspondent Jennifer Parker, thank you very much for the insights. To take a closer look at the recent attacks, we're joined by Marina Meron, a senior fellow in war studies at King's College London. Marina, Moscow's mayor has reported drone attacks on Moscow. What do you make of these attacks and who might be responsible?
Good morning. Well, it's a very difficult question. This is the same question we were asking ourselves when there was an attack on Kremlin just a couple of weeks ago. And so there are different possibilities of what it could be. On the one hand, it could be a false flag operation, meaning that Russian intelligence services most likely could be behind the drone attack, which would then reinforce Russia's narrative and the need to continue the so-called special military operation. On the other hand, we have also heard the statement by Budanov, who is the head of Ukrainian military intelligence, talking about a response from Ukraine to the recent drone attacks on the capital, Kyiv, meaning that the Ukrainian side would also be interested in showing that it can indeed penetrate Russian air defenses and reach Moscow or reach Kremlin at its heart. And therefore, we don't know exactly what happened. We need to wait to hear any reports. There needs to be an investigation, but I think it will be very difficult to get any clarity because each side will create a narrative which is favorable to their own ideas and their own policies.
Sure, but do we know what kind of drones were being used, and can we conclude anything from that?
Well, at the moment, we don't really see much from the footage that has been flooding social networks. What we can say is that there is a swarm of drones that has been used, and potentially those were small quadcopter drones rather than bigger drones like Bayraktar TB2s, which makes it very difficult. Those could be DJI drones or maybe Ukrainian-made drones or maybe even the smaller Shaheds. So it's very difficult at this stage to determine the origin of the drones. And I think there will be a lot of fog when it concerns to the drones, and the Russian side will probably link it back to the Ukrainian side, and the Ukrainian side will be denying that. So we're expecting that kind of information game to go on in the next couple of hours.
Do you think more and more of this war is going to be fought with drones?
Well, I think drones are now playing an important role for both sides. For the Russians, it's a way to deplete Ukrainian air defenses. And for the Ukrainians, it is good to use drones because they're short on ammunition on the one hand. On the other hand, there is no risk. And drones offer a very limited deniability. So if we're talking about civilian drones modified for military purposes, you can never link it back to the Ukrainian armed forces. With the Russians, obviously, when they use their Shaheds, we know that they're coming from the Russian side. And so it's good in terms of the strike capabilities with low risk. It's also good for reconnaissance. So drones have played a very significant part in this conflict. That being said, we shouldn't attribute any successes to the use of drones per se.
OK, the analysis there from Marina Maron from King's College London. Thank you for chiming in.
Thank you very much.
Well, Ukrainian authorities say Russia has carried out another wave of drone attacks on the capital, Kyiv, killing at least one person. Ukraine's defense forces say they shot down more than 20 drones in the early hours of Tuesday. Military officials say the drones were Iranian-made. The attack caused a fire in an apartment building with at least one person killed and 3 injured and several vehicles destroyed. Tuesday's pre-dawn attack was the 17th strike this month. On Monday, residents rushed to take shelter in metro stations during a rare daytime assault. And for more, we're joined by our correspondent Max Sander, who's in Kyiv. Max, it seems there's been no respite in Moscow's attacks on Kyiv.
Right, Ben. So the situation here in the capital, Kyiv, certainly did not get easier after the heavy attacks on the weekend, on the night from Sunday to Monday. The capital, Kyiv, saw the heaviest attack in terms of scale since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, and followed by a rare daytime attack yesterday, and then last night at around 2:30, residents here in Kyiv were woken up by loud explosions, air defense going to work yet again. According to the latest information by the Ukrainian Air Force, 31 Iranian-made Shahed drones were launched towards the capital, of which 29 they were able to take down, they say. Burning debris, however, did damage in various neighborhoods across the city. Cars were set on fire. Burning debris crashed through roofs of some buildings. In one case, a high-rise building was set fire to. People had to be evacuated. People had to be brought to hospital. In one case, a person was killed. This has been going on for a month now. Every other night, citizens of Kyiv are being woken up. We don't know exactly why the Russians are doing this. They may be aiming for military targets. We don't know what they're exactly aiming for and if they're hitting everything. This is secret for obvious reasons. But they may be trying to test the Ukrainian air defense, maybe trying to exhaust them, find out where Patriot batteries, for example, are located. This might not be the priority, but this is also taking definitely a psychological toll on the residents here in Kyiv. Imagine going to bed not knowing if you will be able to sleep or not knowing if burning debris will hit through your roof. So this is definitely also taking an effect on the people here.
And as we mentioned before, Moscow has reported drone attacks as well, as we heard earlier, blaming Kyiv for them. Have there been any reactions in Kyiv on that?
No, there haven't been any reactions, and that does not come as a surprise at all. We don't know who's behind this attack, if this is a Russian false flag operation, if this is a Russian sabotage group, if this has been ordered by the leadership in Kyiv or perhaps by an intelligence group here in Kyiv. We know that the Ukrainians are capable of carrying out drone attacks, are also capable of carrying out drone attacks far, far behind enemy lines. For example, at the end of last year, they were able to strike airfields somewhat 500 kilometers east of the actual front line. But the Ukrainians rarely comment on this, and they usually do not take responsibility. It seems their line of thinking is those who should know will know what happened.
DW's Max Sander reporting from Kyiv.